Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the first lecture and the first session with regards to the O-Levels English language course, and the course code is 1123, presented by Nafi' Academy. I am the English language instructor at Nafi' Academy, and my name is Ibrahim Ahsan Faruqi. And in this particular session, we will be looking at the constituents and the main components of the O-Levels English language paper. And in particular, we will be having a look at the directed writing section of paper 1, writing. However, first, it is important for us to understand the main structure of the paper and the main content of the O-Levels English language exam. And for this, you need to understand 5 points. Number 1, you will be sitting for 2 papers, meaning you will be taking 2 exams. Paper 1, which is writing, and paper 2, which is reading. Both of these papers consist of 2 sections each. So the writing paper has 2 sections, directed writing and composition. And the allotted time for the writing paper is 1 hour and 30 minutes. In this 1 hour and 30 minutes, you have to complete both the sections. The second paper, which is reading, also consists of 2 sections. So number 1, reading for ideas, and number 2, reading for meaning. And the allotted time for the reading paper is 1 hour and 45 minutes. And in this 1 hour and 45 minutes, you have to complete both the sections. In this particular session and in this particular lecture, which is lecture 1, we will be looking specifically at the directed writing section of the writing paper. And in the subsequent sessions, we will look at composition, reading for ideas, and reading for meaning. So section 1 of the writing paper, which is directed writing, consists of 1 task which is worth 30 marks. So you have to do 1 task and you have to answer 1 question which is worth 30 marks. And to answer this question, you have to write either a letter, which could be a formal or an informal letter, or you have to write a speech, report, article, account, newspaper report, or a newspaper article, or a leaflet. Any one of these could come in the paper, and we will go through the format and structure and the essential constituents of each one of these in our upcoming sessions. The word limit that you have to follow is 200 to 300 words, meaning that your writing cannot be below 200 words and it cannot be beyond 300 words. After understanding this, it is important for you to understand what are you being assessed on. That after you have written your writing piece, when this paper goes back to Cambridge, what is the assessor looking for and what are they marking you for in this particular section? And understanding this is quite important so that you can fulfill these conditions in your writing passage. And there are basically 5 points that you need to understand. Point number 1, articulate experience and express what is thought, felt, and imagined. What this means is that you need to write what you feel and what you think and what you imagine in a coherent fashion, and you need to express it in clear detail so as it is not vague to the reader. The concepts that you write about should be clearly presented, and they should not be vague or incoherent. Point number 2 is sequence facts, ideas, and opinions. And this relates to the overall organization of your writing piece, whether it's a letter or a speech or an article, or any one of the ones that we mentioned before. So the first part of it relates to the structural integrity of it, meaning that it should be detailed in proper paragraphs, meaning you can't write one big chunk without paragraphing. And we will discuss that there are two methods of paragraphing. One is called indenting, and the other is where you leave a line, and both of these are valid methods of paragraphing. Then there are some internal parts related to the structure and sequence. And what do we mean by that? We mean that, number one, all the paragraphs that you have written need to be linked with each other. So the first paragraph of the body needs to link with the introduction, and the second paragraph of the body needs to link with the first paragraph of the body. And for this we use linking words like however, therefore, although, etc., moreover, furthermore, right? But it also relates to the concepts. The concepts need to be linked together, and the content needs to be linked together. Thirdly, there should be proper sequence to what you have written. For example, you cannot present the conclusion before presenting the idea. First you present the idea and its basis and its principles, and then you present the conclusion, and so on and so forth. Point number 3, you need to use a range of appropriate vocabulary, a variety of appropriate vocabulary. What that means is that you cannot use the same words again and again, but they need to see that you have a good command over English. You can use different words to elaborate on the same concept. And we will have a look at different methods that you can use to improve your vocabulary across this time when you're preparing for your O-level English language examination. And point number 4 is use register appropriate to audience and context. What do we mean by register? Register means that you have to follow the proper style and tone of what is expected from you. So if it's a formal context and a formal audience, you need to write in a formal tone and a formal style. For example, writing a formal letter. Or they could give you an informal context and an informal audience. For example, they might say, write to your friends. And when you're speaking to your friends, you don't speak to them like you speak to your boss, for example, or like you speak to an elder in the family. No, you speak to them in a different style and a different tone. And formal and informal writing do not only exist within the realm of letter writing. No, speeches can be formal and informal. Articles can be formal or informal. And there are some types of writing that are automatically formal or informal. So for example, newspaper writing. Newspaper writing is usually automatically formal. So if they ask you to write a newspaper, you know automatically and instantly that, okay, I have to write in the formal style and the formal tone, and I need to fulfill the conditions of formal writing, and we will go through what the conditions of formal and informal writing are. On the other hand, magazine articles differ. Some magazine articles are formal, some are informal, and so you have to be careful. You have to look at the context, and this context and the target audience will be mentioned in the question. Point number 5, which is also of due importance, is make accurate use of spelling, punctuation, and grammar. So the spellings need to be correct, your punctuation needs to be correct, you need to put a full stop where you have to put a full stop, and a comma where you have to put a comma, and we will go through the rules related to punctuation marks as well, and accurate use of grammar. So these are the 5 essential points on which you will be assessed in the writing paper in section 1 and in section 2 as well. Section 2 is composition, and in lecture 2 we will talk a bit about composition. To revise some of these points, you can have a look at Cambridge O-Level English textbook by John Reynolds and Patricia Akers, pages 1 to 2. This was session 1 of the O-Level English Language course 1123, presented by Nafi' Academy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.